How we going, people? Mad Pieman here. Got an interesting video people might be interested to watch in regards to a certain individual who's supposedly on the side of the people. So we need to check this out. This is how I share because I'm retarded. Okay. See if we can do this. Well, that light's in a bad spot. Oh, this way. Still no good. Too many lights here. Here we go.
Good evening. Islamic State has issued a chilling call to arms, urging attacks on the MCG, Brunswick and Broadmeadows.
It's the first time that we've seen an English language publication of concerns. What appears to be the only new content is essentially a poem, and the poem is making reference to a number of Australian locations.
Everywhere, I've been telling more Seymour, Liz, Momaluna, Barnham, Bonbridge, Dorkill, Mormill, about Birdsville, Lemmerville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathmore, Crossmine, Alladala, Darwin, Ginger, Lillaquin, Macdilla, Wallamilla, Buggerville, Cumberland, Ramakiller. I've been every
installed ahead of Friday night's finals game between Hawthorn and Geelong. They will be doing bag checks though, and the handheld metal detection system upon entry. They will also have more police here on the ground. But
smashing glass woke George and Jess Dalton last month, and within seconds a thug had snatched keys from their kitchen bench and run.
The speed it happened there was phenomenal.
They dashed to the driveway to see their Ford territory being stolen.
I'm looking at the car going, what is going on?
He's staring right at us while he's reversing the car.
The couple is spending almost $20,000 on security.
I'm terrified. I don't feel safe.
Residents decided to take things into their own hands and do patrols.
A dozen residents now drive the streets at night.
The police should be there doing that for us, and unfortunately there's just not enough resources for the police to do that.
People are starting to say, you know what, I want to take control of my own personal safety.
Self-defence classes are full, and instructor Avi Yamini created an online group to share security tips for its 7,000 members.
Now, it's a question particularly for ladies, but for anyone really. Would you feel safe if you carried a can of capsicum spray with you?
Avi Yemeni is the founder of the IDF training gym in Caulfield North in Melbourne. He says people no longer feel safe in their homes and it's time to empower the community.
It's the best non-lethal self-defence tool available today, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be allowed to carry it.
This is a year ago.
Families forced to arm themselves
A year ago,
after a spate
people.
of violent home invasions. Tonight, why they
He didn't just spring up out of nowhere.
fearful of apex gang attacks.
It's violent gang crime and it's rife in our suburbs.
There definitely has been an increase in crime.
Police are working tirelessly to stamp it out.
We're doing everything we can to catch the offenders and put them before the courts.
But the attacks keep happening.
Him was coming toward me with the hammer. I didn't care. I just jumped on top of him.
Today's world's a lot different, isn't it? We've noticed a bit of an increase in sort of baseball bat sales in the past few weeks.
A Caulfield self-defence trainer has launched a crowdfunding appeal to raise bail for a father charged over the murder of a home intruder.
He's being charged, and instead of being with that family that he was protecting, he is locked up in jail.
Coming video has captured a Reservoir man's nasty racist attack on the steps of a Melbourne synagogue.
Steps of his synagogue, a Melbourne rabbi is forced to defend himself. The agitated man required numerous helpers to hold him down. Word of the rabbi's efforts have spread quickly.
But he was so calm and collected, and his good nature just took over the situation.
I've known him since before he was born.
People worried by a surge in shootings and the threat of terrorist attacks are looking for new ways to defend themselves, also learning how to save themselves from a gunman.
The threat is real, and so is the violence on our streets.
As a woman, I just feel I need to be a little bit safer because I honestly have no idea what to do if someone were to attack me walking around the city at night.
Obviously, how to avoid those situations, and then when you're in that situation, how do you react? What do you do? Nobody thinks about that because we haven't had it here.
Snaps.
It's not about making you a warrior. It's about making you practically able to protect yourself, protect your family.
The threat on the street has changed from stabbings and gang fights to terrorist attacks and shootings.
It's definitely escalating. I'm not sure where they're all getting the guns from, but
I honestly thought I would never see the day, but that day
Is their favourite Martin?
violent home
Piece of
invasions,
shit.
the new norm. Violent, terrifying carjackings, the new norm.
Nice Israeli tie, Martin.
they're just a bunch of hooligans going around trying to terrorise the city, terrorise the people.
They're doing violent home invasions, carjackings, and other kinds of crime, which just scare people half to death.
You're paying the price. And the price for a growing number of innocent people is shockingly high. We've never seen anything like this before. On this scale, the brazenness, the brutality, the cruelty. And this is where it all began. The birthplace of the Apex gang. Apex Street in Dandenong, east of Melbourne. Talk to the residents here and they'll tell you this street is quiet and friendly. The
Paranoid right now.
Do you have enough grunt? Yes, we do. These were the scenes that shocked Australia. The heart of Melbourne under siege when rival gangs, one of them Apex, went to war. What were their first crimes?
Look, a lot of the crimes have been around burglaries and aggravated burglaries,
which then morphed into home invasions and carjackings.
The first thought in my head is, I don't want to die here.
What began as a routine drive home in his luxury Mercedes at 2 a.m. quickly turned into terror for Michael Talal.
Avi Yamini is the owner of IDF Trading. Avi, good morning, dear.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
IDF, does that stand for Israeli Defence Force?
Yes, it does.
And you're training kids as young as 5, self-defence techniques used by the Israeli military?
Indeed we are.
I can understand that maybe in Israeli society, the level of concern for the security of children would be much greater than it is in Melbourne, Australia. Do we need 5-year-olds in Melbourne to be taught defence techniques?
Look, the self-defence techniques that they're learning in Israel at 5 and the self-defence techniques you're going to learn in Melbourne are going to be similar. There's similar problems. It's, anti-predator, anti-bullying, I imagine worldwide. I'm talking about Australia and Israel. They're not learning what they learn in the Israeli Defence Force with regards to weapons and all the more advanced stuff that we actually teach within adult classes and law enforcement classes, obviously. But the problems are the same. Bullying and predators live amongst us here and in Israel.
Victoria Police has announced a major upgrade of weapons training for frontline officers. It came as the state's highest-ranking officer revealed a Melbourne event was the target of an alleged terror plot in the coming days. Seb Costello with more.
On a country range, a private instructor shows how to deal with a gunman. Techniques like this set to be part of a new police weapons program announced by the acting commissioner.
The new training for our members, which starts on the 1st of July, which we've been preparing for some time.
The new course will challenge members in active scenarios.
A differing range of activities and potential activities, including what we term as active shooters, where we actually have someone with a gun moving through the community.
A step up from the previous program, which relied on static target shooting.
There certainly has been a training gap with regard to the training of our members to deal with an active shooter situation.
Police Command adding it's important our training considers the heightened threat environment that we are currently operating in.
Those changes are now with us in Victoria, and it's important that our members, police officers throughout the state, are able to deal with that situation.
In the northern suburbs, members dealt with an all-too-real situation. Investigations ongoing after a 17-year-old boy was arrested on terror charges.
We do believe that the young man intended to explode a device at an event over the coming days.
The teenager will face court on Monday. One house is still closed off even to its owners as police scour for evidence.
We've relocated them, but for them, this is just as shocking an event as it is for the rest of us.
The increased threat level has boosted private shooting courses like this one, particularly among security professionals. Around a third of those enrolled in this course are currently serving members of Victoria Police. The training has also attracted ADF personnel and at least one member of the New Zealand Army.
Things are different now. Things are very, very different. You know, it's a different world.
The new Victoria Police program begins in the coming financial year. Seb Costello, 9 News.
Terror alert level on high. Everyday Melburnians are among those training to deal with a potential attack. A former soldier has taken to teaching the anti-terror classes at a suburban gym, and Seb Costello went along.
In a suburban gym, everyday Aussies prepare themselves for the worst possible scenario.
Two more here, take them out.
This is a counter-terrorism class, equipping students with the skills to turn the tables on a gunman or take out an armed guard.
Going slowly here and here, I execute 100%. Communist society, when you have good and bad, you need to deal with the good and we need to deal with the bad. We will teach you to deal with the bad.
Instructor Lior Offenbach is a former soldier. More recently, Lior was a detective in East Jerusalem. He now travels the world teaching.
Krav Maga is nasty. We kick to the groin, we gouge the eyes, we bite, we headbutt.
Among those taking part, veterinarian Peter Holtz and his 16-year-old daughter Lucy.
I guess with all the events that happen in Sydney and the other things that seem to be going on around the world, I thought it was probably a good idea to become a bit more aware.
The idea is that in the case of a random or surprise attack, students can deal with it instinctively.
An Israeli army-based self-defense technique is empowering women and making them feel safe. Krav Maga teaches women how to defend themselves in everyday situations.
She's the 7-year-old you'd want beside you in a tricky situation. Would you know what to do if someone grabbed you by the arm that you didn't know?
Yes. Just kick them and release my hand.
Charlize and mum Elizabeth are learning the finer points of Krav Maga, the next word in self-defense.
I think it's a great form of, protection and defence.
It was developed and taught to Israelis in the 1940s, and it's been in Australia for a couple of years. But IDF training is now running the first all-female classes.
This is finally an opportunity for girls to feel safe, to learn this reality-based self-defense system which could save their life.
The craft doesn't promote violence, but is serious about women being able to protect themselves.
Krav Maga is still traditionally used by the Israeli Defence Forces, but Australian women are finding its kicking, striking and takedown techniques increasingly useful in everyday situations.
Defences against wrist grabs, bear hugs, chokes, all things that are seen on the street.
Oh, it's just amazing. It's such a confidence booster.
The sessions also emulate real-life scenarios like nightclubs, putting participants out of their comfort zone.
It's something that I can have under my belt to protect myself.
For details on Krav Maga, head to our website.
Gang has led to an explosion in the popularity of self-defence classes. Those taking the classes say they feel more empowered, but the people teaching them say the lessons should only be used as a last resort. Joe Hill has the story.
This Caulfield Krav Maga class teaches a very simple lesson.
I want the students to go ultra-violent, attacking him with all their might.
Attendance is up around 25%, thanks largely to the rise of the Apex gang.
These areas here used to be the most safe areas to bring up your family and kids. This is what it was known for. They're lovely areas, and they've been rocked by violent crime lately.
Renuka Patel has been doing Krav Maga for 3.5 years. It hasn't just taught her a killer groin strike, she's gained a better understanding of potentially dangerous situations.
It gave me a sense of knowing that I can look after myself, particularly as a smaller female. I want to be able to look after myself in any instance.
The demand for self-defense classes is so great that around 200 people have signed up for a workshop run by former Israeli soldier Lior Offenbach. While he makes it look easy, he says lesson one is always run away.
Don't engage if you don't need to engage. Money, cell phone, your car is not worth you risking your life. Nobody's Superman.
I'm going to now empower myself that if it happens that I need to protect myself or my family, at least I have some tools.
It's the course that's putting automatic weapons in the hands of regular Aussies. Participants say they're doing it to protect themselves, but others claim there's no place for this kind of training.
Go.
This isn't a war zone, and these aren't soldiers in training. They're civilians, and they're being taught Israeli army techniques just 80 k's outside Melbourne.
Israeli shooting is simple and aggressive.
Around the world, terrorism is on the rise, especially in countries like Australia where it hasn't hit too strong yet, but you know, you don't have to be a genius to forecast the future.
Seems completely over the top.
Avi Yemeni is an ex-Israeli Defence Force soldier who runs a gym that teaches combat skills. After the Sydney siege, he saw the opportunity to train Australians in the art of tactical shooting.
It teaches you how to overcome the fear and to train yourself when you're under attack from being a victim to becoming the aggressor.
I don't think it's necessary for community members to be involved in that training. In fact, I think it's dangerous.
The only requirements for the almost $600 a day course are that participants must be over 18 and have a clean criminal record. And the sessions are in high demand, with the first two selling out in less than 24 hours.
What you're learning there is firstly safety, how to operate your firearm. Then you go into moving while shooting, how to differentiate between targets, so civilians and terrorists or whatever it is, and the intensity goes up.
We like to think that whatever you know contributes to your safety.
Lior Offenbach was brought out from Israel to run the first two courses. The former soldier turned police force detective boasts on his website that he has experience dealing with large violent riots and violent offenders from all walks of life.
God forbid there will be situations that they will need to use a pistol. They know how to do that.
So why would anyone want to learn to shoot like an Israeli soldier?
I can definitely protect my kids. You never know when things happen in public places, so the ability to respond quickly to anything.
I've got into security. I sort of want to get the best of the best training, and that's why I've come to these guys.
Survival more than anything else. How to focus, how to work quickly, how to think fast, be aware of what's going on around you.
And yeah, hopefully I won't have to use it, but it's better to have those skills just in case.
Critics question the need for military-style training for civilians.
Well, they're not going to have those weapons. I mean, it's illegal to own those sorts of automatic weapons in Australia anyway. And it staggers me that these people have a licence to do what they're doing.
Yes, we don't carry firearms in Australia for self-defence. Obviously, we know that. But for civilians, it's another way to challenge yourself.
The last thing we need is community members putting themselves in harm's way and potentially even interfering in police operations or getting themselves hurt.
Clark's also concerned about the level of anxiety about terrorism reaching our shores.
The incidence of terrorism or disruption of terrorist activities is increasing, but it's not to the point where we need people arming themselves to act against potential acts of terrorism. We should leave that sort of activity to the well-trained police and military forces.
As long as we have the right people in there and we're vetting them properly and they're good people, we've got nothing to worry about.
Here continue to grow. So too do the donations to a fund set up for the family of the 10-year-old died after she was struck on Friday. Her mother's fighting for life and her younger sister also remains in hospital.
More than $50,000 has so far been raised.
Their family's been torn apart. The father's just going from hospital to hospital, and it's just heartbreak.
Members of the Jewish community have set up a fundraising page to help the family, which has so far raised close to $30,000.
They're just like such bubbly little girls, always smiling, always jumping around, very energetic, just normal, happy little girls.
Okay.